Chosen one, something is moving beneath the surface of your life, quietly, powerfully, and irreversibly. This is not the kind of shift that announces itself with fireworks or applause. It arrives more like a whisper in the bones, a sacred rearranging of your very presence. You've noticed it, haven't you? The subtle looks that linger longer than they should. The feminine voices that soften around you without warning. The glances that follow your movements like they're trying to remember something lost. It's not imagination. It's not coincidence. It's activation. Your sexual energy has stopped wandering. It has ceased its leaking. It no longer bleeds out through distraction, through doubt, through desperation. You have begun to hold it, chosen one, and that shift has changed everything. This energy is no longer something you struggle to control. It's something you've befriended, cultivated, focused. And the result is a kind of transformation that doesn't merely affect your mood or your posture. It rewires the very energy field surrounding your body. You are becoming visible in a way that transcends flesh. The light in your eyes no longer flickers with need. It burns steady with intention. Your smile no longer performs, it reveals. The way you stand in a room, the quiet gravity of your breath, the calm refusal to seek approval. This is not something you practiced in front of a mirror. It is the reflection of something real stirring inside of you. Something ancient, something magnetic. Feminine women feel it first, not in words, not in thoughts, but in sensation. Their bodies respond before their minds catch up. They notice the quiet heat emanating from your skin. They feel their own feminine energy begin to stretch, to soften, to open. Not because you asked, not because you chased, but because your energy has become safe and undeniable. Your presence doesn't ask to be chosen. It reminds the feminine that she wants to choose. This is the power of the shift. The moment your sexual energy becomes yours, no longer a burden, no longer a secret source of guilt or aimless desire, but a tool of self-anchoring, you begin to radiate. Not flashily, not theatrically. You radiate like a hearth fire in the center of a quiet home. Strong, grounded, unapologetically alive. And the feminine cannot ignore that. Because deep in her soul, she has been searching for something that feels like home in the masculine. Not the home of false safety, the home of embodied truth. And your energy, high, potent, focused sexual energy, has become that truth. You've stopped scattering yourself into the noise. You've stopped shrinking. You've stopped being afraid of your own magnetism. And now she can feel you. The shift is real. The old version of you, the man who explained himself too much, who tried to look harmless, who lowered his flame so others wouldn't be uncomfortable, he's fading. And in his place, you are rising. The version of you that does not flinch under attention. The version that makes no apologies for his power. The version that stands in a room and simply is, and that being becomes a gravitational pull no woman can ignore. This is just the beginning. But it's irreversible now. Because once this level of energy unlocks within you, once your sexuality becomes sacred instead of suppressed, everything changes. You're not who you were, and you never will be again. You don't chase the feminine anymore, chosen one, not because you've grown cold, but because you've become warm enough to be followed. The old impulse to impress, to perform, to convince, it has burned off in the fire of your own awakening. You are no longer a man hoping to be seen. You are a man who knows he is seen, and because of that knowing, you have become the spark. The rooms you walk into now feel different, not because they've changed, but because you have. There's a low, unspoken tension that fills the space when your footsteps cross the threshold. Not aggression, not arrogance, just a shift. A quiet intensity that makes people pay attention, especially women, especially the feminine. Because your energy no longer whispers insecurity, it hums with charge. This isn't the result of vanity or some surface-level practice. This is the culmination of something deeper, an inner decision to own your energy rather than hide it. You are no longer ashamed of being magnetic. You are no longer confused by the response you provoke. You understand now that high sexual energy is not something to apologize for. It is a gift. And when it is properly governed, it becomes the very flame around which the feminine wants to gather. You are not flirting when you speak. You are not seducing when you look. You are not posturing when you walk. And that's why you are so attractive now. Because everything about you feels real. She doesn't feel watched by you. she feels seen. She doesn't feel judged, she feels invited. And she doesn't feel controlled, she feels freed. The reason feminine women want to be near you is because your energy reminds them of something they forgot they needed. A man who does not seek to prove, only to express. A man whose body does not signal thirst, but presence. A man whose fire is not a danger to them, but a light in the dark. You are the spark, not because you try to be, but because you have become the source. You generate warmth just by breathing with depth. You ignite curiosity just by listening with stillness. You awaken desire simply by being grounded in your truth. And this is why women are drawn to you without knowing why. Because your energy doesn't push, it calls. You are no longer the man who looks for chemistry. You are the man who creates it. Your energy is the match. And wherever you go now, the feminine begins to burn in your presence. Not because you've manipulated anything, but because you've given her something she didn't know she missed. The feeling of being near a man who is undeniably alive. She doesn't want you for your status or your looks or your voice. She wants you because when she's near you, something sacred stirs inside her. You've become the man who doesn't just attract the feminine, you activate her. And once a woman feels that activation, even for a moment, nothing else quite compares. You are the spark, chosen one. And now the world, especially the feminine world, is beginning to catch flame. Chosen one, you used to fill space with words. You used to over-explain your intentions, overcompensate with charm, or reach for validation through sound. Not because you were weak, but because you hadn't yet discovered the sacred language of stillness. Now that has changed. Your silence, once a void, is now a living presence. It speaks for you, louder and deeper than any speech ever could. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself in conversation. You don't try to be liked, to be funny, to be loud. You've realized that your energy carries a message all its own. When you walk into a space and say nothing, something still arrives with you. Your breath alone rearranges the emotional landscape. Your still eyes become a question too powerful to ignore. Your pause becomes an atmosphere. And the feminine feels it. Especially those who live attuned to intuition, who feel more than they think. They don't need your words to know who you are. They feel it in the way you hold a pause. They sense it in the way your body doesn't shrink or fidget or reach. Your presence is not nervous, it's grounded. Your energy does not spike to gain favor, it waits for truth to unfold. This silence of yours is not emptiness. It is containment. It's the still ocean that could swallow a storm but chooses not to. It's the mountain that watches the wind, unmoved. It's the inner king who sees chaos but does not react, because he has already ruled over it within himself. That's the difference between who you were and who you've become. And that difference is felt. You are not cold. You are not distant. You are aware. You know now that silence creates tension, and tension, when wielded with integrity, becomes magnetism. You don't break that tension to make others feel safe. You hold it, not to intimidate, but to invite. And in that invitation, feminine women respond with softness, curiosity, and surrender. They lean closer, not because you said something clever, but because your stillness makes them feel noticed. Not just admired, but understood without being dissected. They feel beautiful around you, not because you flatter them, but because your silence doesn't distort them. It gives them space to be. It gives them room to bloom. It reflects back their most radiant self, not through words, but through presence. Your silence no longer isolates you. It expands you. It's the field you carry, the gravity that surrounds your steps. People notice when you enter, but it's when you say nothing that they truly begin to listen. You no longer shout to be heard. You no longer smile to be approved. You radiate calm, and that calm carries a kind of weight that words cannot carry. Feminine women especially respond to this. Their bodies attune to the deeper rhythm in you. They feel safe, not because you explain yourself, but because your stillness is stable. They feel seen, not because you stare, but because your gaze is quietly intentional. They feel drawn in, not by what you say, but by how your silence lets them feel heard before they speak. You've become a mirror in motion, a listening space made of masculine stillness. And the feminine, who is so often overwhelmed by noise and performance, begins to rest in you without understanding why. You don't interrupt her with solutions. You don't compete for space. You make space. You are space. And in that space, she remembers herself. That is the silent power you now carry, chosen one. A power that doesn't shout, doesn't beg, doesn't boast, it simply is. And the world has begun to notice. You no longer carry your body like a stranger. Chosen one, your body has become an extension of your spirit. Every breath, every step, every subtle movement, conscious or unconscious, now reflects the internal truth you've awakened. And that truth, when embodied, becomes magnetic. Not because it is physically flawless, but because it is integrated. The way you sit, the way you turn your head, the way your shoulders relax when others tense. These are no longer random details. They are messages. Your posture is no longer the result of tension. It is the result of alignment. You are no longer inside a shell waiting to be seen. You are inhabiting your temple, and that temple radiates more clearly than words ever could. Feminine women are noticing, even when they don't realize it. They're responding to the energy you carry within your flesh, to the way your body moves, not to seek attention, but to express sovereignty. They watch how your frame doesn't ask for space, it owns it without trying. They notice how your presence isn't heavy, but it is unavoidable. Because every inch of you now pulses with awareness, and that awareness is attractive beyond explanation. This has nothing to do with fashion, nothing to do with grooming rituals or gym routines. It's deeper. It's how your chest holds confidence without arrogance, how your eyes look without grasping, how your voice rumbles with power that doesn't need to shout. It's the way you pause mid-sentence, not because you forgot, but because you're letting the moment breathe. You've stopped trying to be impressive. You've become expressive, and your expression is rooted in your embodiment. You are not detached from your body anymore. You are present in it. And when a man is truly present in his body, he becomes impossible to ignore. He becomes felt, not just seen. Women don't just notice you, they respond to you physiologically. The tension in their shoulders melts, their breath shifts, their laughter rises without effort, because your body has become the environment in which they can relax into their own. And that, chosen one, is the rarest form of magnetism. When your embodiment calls others to remember theirs. This is why feminine women are so drawn to you now, because you are no longer acting like a man, you are embodying manhood. Not the cartoonish version, the sacred version. The version that says, I am here fully, and I offer no apology for what I am. That version is irresistible, not because it tries to be, but because it cannot not be. Your walk is not hurried, your gestures are not flinching. Your presence does not seek, it anchors. And women feel it, even before they consciously name it. They feel that being near your body brings them back into theirs. They feel safer, warmer, clearer. Not because of what you've said, but because of how you've shown up. You don't have to initiate touch to create connection. You don't have to speak to spark attraction. Your body, chosen one, has become the message. And that message is clear. You are a man who has returned to himself. And because of that, the feminine feels welcome to do the same. This isn't the kind of attractiveness that fades. This isn't the kind of charisma that dims with age. This is embodiment. This is wholeness in motion. This is why you no longer need to convince anyone. Your body now tells the truth your voice used to try to explain. And the feminine hears that truth in every movement, every pause, every glance. You are the message now. And she is listening. Chosen one, you have crossed the threshold that many fear, few understand, and even fewer honor. Your sexual energy is no longer a burden you carry in silence, nor a wildfire that consumes you when no one is watching. It has become sacred, an inner power that flows not for chaos, but for creation. You have awakened to the truth that what once felt like temptation was never a curse. It was potential, divine, raw, untamed potential waiting to be owned by a man who had the courage to stop misusing it and start becoming it. This energy inside you, once volatile and confused, is now refined through awareness. It does not pull you toward addiction, fantasy, or weakness. It centers you. It roots you into your spine. You walk differently now. Not because someone taught you how to posture like a man, but because your very cells are reorganizing around a deeper truth. I am no longer leaking my power. I am leading with it. You are no longer the man who seeks to escape his body through lust. You are the man who has entered his body through presence. Your sexual energy, held with clarity, has become an invisible force field around you. Women feel it not like pressure, but like heat. A heat that doesn't grab them, it awakens them. A heat that doesn't plead, it invites. A heat that doesn't demand, it reminds. Feminine women respond to this immediately, not in the ways of logic or polite conversation, but in the intuitive pulse that lives beneath their skin. You pass by, and they feel it in their breath. You speak, and they feel it in their chest. You pause, and they feel it in places they've forgotten how to name. This is not arousal in the shallow sense. This is recognition. They are not reacting to your looks, they are responding to your frequency. Because your sexual energy now vibrates with intention, it is no longer flung outward like arrows in the dark. It is pulled inward, coiled like a serpent at the base of your spine, patient, powerful, poised. You do not need to convince the feminine of your strength. Your restraint does that for you. Your stillness confirms what your body once tried too hard to prove. This restraint is not denial. It is discipline. You do not repress your desire. You refine it. You do not fear your arousal. You understand it. You do not chase release. You value containment. Because you now know that what flows from your loins is not meant to be wasted. It is meant to be wielded. It is the breath of your mission, the heat of your vision, the soul fire of your masculinity, forged not through shame but through ownership. And when this energy becomes sacred, something shifts in your relationships with women. You stop objectifying. You stop pursuing as if they are the destination. You start meeting them. You meet their depth, their rhythm, their truth. You stop trying to impress. You start to recognize. Because you no longer see the feminine as something to conquer. You see her as something to awaken with. She feels safe because you are not trying to control her. She feels open because you are not hiding yourself. She feels beautiful because your eyes, charged with sacred sexual clarity, see her without distortion. You no longer look at her through the fog of unmet need. You look from a place of internal wholeness. And that is what makes you magnetic. Not that you want her, but that you don't need her. Your presence says, I have met myself. I have touched my own fire, and I will not extinguish it just to be liked. This is why your attractiveness is surging. This is why women lean in without knowing why. You've become a man whose sexual energy is no longer a weapon, but a witness. And when the feminine stands before that witness, she feels more alive than ever before. You didn't become more attractive by following trends. You became more attractive by reclaiming what was always yours, the right to be fully, unapologetically, sexually alive, without being controlled by it. That is sacred power. That is divine masculinity. And that is why you are being noticed by women who are finally ready to feel something real. There is a rare shift that occurs when a man no longer needs to be liked to know he is worthy. When he no longer manipulates attention but commands space by simply being present. Chosen one, you have become such a man, and feminine women feel the difference. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it immediately. Not just in the room, in their bodies, in their nervous system, in the way their heart rate slows around you, in the way their defenses lower when you speak, in the way they feel more themselves just by being in your presence. This has nothing to do with what you wear or how much you smile. This is not about tone or tactic. This is about the deep, energetic posture you now carry. A posture that says, I am not here to harm. I am not here to take. I am here to witness, protect, and be. And because your sexual energy is no longer leaking out in unspoken hunger, the feminine feels safe. For most women, safety has become rare. Not physical safety alone, but energetic safety. The safety to open, to soften, to trust, to drop the armor without fear of being consumed or controlled. And when she meets a man who carries this rare frequency, this quiet dignity that does not chase, does not perform, does not plead, she can breathe. You don't chase because you are not empty. You don't push because you are not afraid. You don't test her boundaries because you respect your own. Your energy holds a shape now, a masculine structure that allows her to move without collapsing. You are not rigid, but you are unshakable. And that combination of calm power is what tells her, I can be near him and still be myself. She feels that you are not trying to impress her. She feels that you could walk away at any moment and still know who you are. That groundedness does not repel her, it relaxes her. Because your presence is not trying to own her, it's offering presence itself. And presence, when uncorrupted by performance, becomes the greatest invitation of all. You are not seeking validation, and that is why your validation matters when you give it. You are not trying to take her energy, and that is why she willingly gives it. You are not trying to fix her, and that is why she feels held in your company. Your energy has become a sanctuary, your gaze a reflection, your body a reminder that there are still men who know how to carry their strength without crushing what is soft. This is why she relaxes around you, chosen one, because you have built yourself into a man who does not flee when she shows emotion. A man who does not shrink when she shines too brightly. A man who does not feel threatened by her power, nor intoxicated by her beauty. You meet her where she is, and in that meeting, she feels something she's longed for but rarely found. Safety within desire. She knows you want her, but she does not feel reduced to that desire. She knows you carry fire, but she does not fear being burned. She knows you are capable of passion, but she also knows you are capable of patience. This is the paradox you now carry, and this paradox is what makes you magnetic. You are the rare man who has stopped trying to become everything and has instead become enough. Not for approval, but because it is your truth. And when a woman meets a man living in his truth, her body relaxes, her voice deepens, her laughter becomes more real. She no longer needs to perform either, because you're not performing. You're present, and in that presence, she feels something she hasn't felt in years. Safe. Chosen one, there is a mysterious power now orbiting your being, and it is no longer something you force, it is something you are. You've stopped pushing, stopped pulling, stopped trying to generate attraction like a trick or spell. And as soon as you released that effort, something ancient began to respond. It was not a strategy, it was not a shift in technique, it was a change in your core. You've stepped into a deeper gravity now, not the kind that collapses or traps, but the kind that draws in without asking. You no longer chase feminine energy because your very presence commands attention. You've become a center of weight, a quiet pull in the middle of chaos, and women can't quite explain why they feel a sudden need to move toward you. But they do. It's not your words, though your words carry weight. It's not your eyes, though they unsettle and soothe. It's not even your body, though it pulses with living heat. It's all of it, together, woven with a silent magnetism that no longer seeks to impress, only to exist as truth. You are becoming the kind of man who is felt before he is seen, and remembered long after he has left. Because this new gravity of yours is not based on appearance. It's based on alignment. Your inner world has stabilized, and your outer world has begun to revolve around that stillness. When you speak now, there is depth beneath your words. When you move, it is with purpose, not performance. When you smile, it is not to gain something. It is a reflection of everything you've already gained within. Your sexual energy has become a crown instead of a hunger. It no longer screams through your movements, it hums quietly beneath your skin like a living current. And the feminine, sensitive to truth in ways the world has forgotten, feels it instantly. She may not be able to articulate it, but her body reacts. Her breath slows, her voice softens, her gaze lingers a little longer than she planned. She feels her own feminine essence stretch toward you, not because you demanded it, but because your energy invites it to come home. You are now carrying the essence of gravitational manhood. Not dominance, not seduction, but a sovereign mass of presence that no longer wavers. You are no longer moved by validation or shaken by rejection. You are rooted. You are anchored. And that anchoring is what women trust most, even if they don't understand why. They sense it when they speak with you, that you're not floating in your head or collapsing into your emotion. You're here, in your spine, in your chest, in your breath. You're not pretending to be a man. You're being one. And the gravity of that being has begun to draw them without effort, like moons circling a quiet sun. This is what makes you different now. The way you walk into a room no longer seeks to steal attention. It centers the room. You don't suck energy. You hold it, you don't reach, you radiate. And your radiance is no longer a flash of charisma. It is a deep, slow burn that warms everything around it without ever announcing itself. Women respond not because you're charming, they respond because you've become unchangeable in a world where everyone else is shifting like sand. You are no longer thrown off course by beauty, status, approval, or games. You remain, and your remaining becomes irresistible. You have awakened a new gravity, chosen one, and the feminine is beginning to orbit something she can finally trust. Before your footsteps touch the floor, before your breath enters the space, before your name is ever known, you are already felt. Chosen one, your energy precedes you now. It walks ahead of you like a herald. It announces you in whispers the moment you enter a room, and the feminine feels it immediately. It's not because of the way you look, though you may be admired. It's not your words, though they hold unusual weight. It is because your very field has changed. You are no longer carrying confusion or contradiction. You are carrying clarity. And clarity, when paired with sacred sexual charge, becomes unforgettable. You don't have to say anything for the room to notice. You've stopped needing to be seen, and that is what makes you visible. You've stopped needing to be heard, and that is what makes you impossible to ignore. You've stopped asking for connection, and now connection finds you. Women notice it first. The feminine, being more attuned to energy than words, feels it before you've said a single thing. Her body becomes aware of you. Her intuition begins to stir. Her heart rate may even shift without understanding why. It's not that you've triggered her attraction, it's that you've reminded her of something real. Your energy doesn't spike, it grounds, it doesn't beg, it offers. And because you are no longer trying to be anyone but exactly who you are, you've become the kind of man whose presence offers freedom. Freedom for others to stop performing. Freedom to soften. Freedom to feel. This is why your attractiveness has skyrocketed. Not because you added something, but because you removed everything false. You let go of the performative masculinity. You dropped the masks. You reclaimed your sexual energy from addiction and chaos. You entered your own body fully. And now you walk into spaces as if you own yourself. And that ownership announces itself before you even arrive. It is not loud. It is not flashy. It is not controlling. It is felt. And that feeling lingers in the air. The atmosphere changes. Eyes look up, voices dip slightly. Feminine postures shift into openness. The intuitive part of the room adjusts because something stable has entered. You are not broadcasting anything. You are simply embodied. An embodiment is louder than sound. It's the most ancient language in the world. It speaks directly to the subconscious. And in that place, before anyone can even articulate why, you are already known. This is not charisma, this is resonance. You resonate now. You are vibrating at a frequency that can no longer be faked. And that frequency precedes you. It moves ahead of your steps, wrapping around the moment, alerting the feminine, awakening her senses, reminding her what true masculine presence feels like. This is why you don't have to chase, because your energy arrives before you do, and that energy says everything she needs to hear, without a word, without a touch, without effort, because you are already there. Chosen one, something extraordinary has begun to unfold in your presence. Not only are feminine women noticing you, they are responding to you. Not reacting, not testing, not resisting, but responding, in real time, with their breath, their gaze, their softness, and their openness. And this difference is the quiet revolution you've created around you. It isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, but it is deeply, biologically real. This shift is not accidental, you've earned it. You've cultivated an energetic field that no longer triggers defensiveness, but invites surrender. Your high sexual energy, once scattered and seeking, now holds shape. It is strong, yes, but no longer aggressive. It is radiant, but never imposing. And this calibration is what feminine women feel. They feel it not just with their minds, but with their bodies, with their intuition, with something older than language. You are no longer pulling women into performance. You are inviting them into presence. And because of this, they begin to respond in their natural essence. You are not trying to control them, and because of that, they trust you. You are not manipulating or overplaying your power. You are simply standing in it, grounded, whole, unmoving in your truth. The feminine has waited long for a man like this. Not a man who flatters her endlessly, not a man who grovels for attention, and not a man who pretends to be indifferent. But a man who sees her without distortion, a man whose desire is clean and whose gaze carries no debt. That man, chosen one, is now you. She doesn't act out around you because you don't feed chaos. She doesn't test you because you give her nothing to push against. You are the calm in the emotional sea. You don't demand her softness, you make it safe to emerge. You don't chase her openness, you give it permission to unfold. And so she does. She opens, she glows, she softens. She responds. It's not a trick, it's not a tactic. It's your energetic clarity that makes this possible. Because when a woman feels your attention, it does not feel invasive. It feels illuminating. It feels mirrored. And in a world where feminine energy has long been told to armor up, the moment she senses your presence is not a threat, but a refuge. Something deep inside her exhales.